Hello, welcome to a little help video for Chapter 7 in confidence intervals. ALEKS is definitely different than what we can do in the notes, and so I want to give you some guidance on how to work these. So it's asking us to compare confidence intervals for the population mean when the population standard deviation is known. Okay. We will rarely ever have that, but this is a good way for us to compare this. So it's suppose we're interested in studying a population to estimate the mean. The population is normal. It has a standard deviation of 9. So we know that for the population. We're going to take 2 samples of size 60. So I'm going to go down here and click on this button that says generate samples. So there are my samples. So sample 1, they already created the lower and upper limit for a 75% confidence interval, and they created a lower and upper limit for a 95% confidence interval. And the mean for the sample in sample 1 is 79.8. And then over in the columns, so they did this for, if you scroll down, they did this for 20 samples. And each of the sample sizes are 60. And then we have the columns for the 75% and the 90%. So you can see that the 95% confidence are always going to be wider than the 75% because you're more confident. And so you have to make them wider to ensure that you're covering that true population mean. Now, when the 75%, that means we would suspect that 25% of the confidence intervals would not contain the true mean. So a quarter of the 20 samples would be 5. So we would suspect that about 5 of them would not contain the true mean. So here's one here, I'm circling. Here's one, that's the second one. There's a third one that's not containing it. There's a fourth one. And then let's scroll up. So it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that do not contain the true mean, which is not quite 25%, but that's okay because it's an approximation. The 95% confidence interval means that about 5% of the 20 samples, so about 1 of them should not contain the true population mean. And you can see here that there is exactly 1, and that's this one right here. Okay, so now we're going to look, it says how many of the 75% confidence intervals contain the population mean. So we said that there were 4 that did not. And so that means there are 16 that do. So we're going to type 16. And then it says how many of the 95% confidence intervals constructed from the 20 samples contain the population mean. And we said all but 1, so that would be 19. Now, I know that these are really tricky, and when I practice this one, it's not going to be the same for the rest because they mix them up, and that's because I want you to think, and ALEKS wants you to think about what's going on. They can be a little frustrating, but that's okay. Frustration precedes growth. So the first one says, it says choose all that are true. There is nothing wrong with the fact that 95% confidence intervals are different from each other. Each confidence interval depends on its sample, and different samples may give different confidence intervals. That is true. We would expect to find more 95% confidence intervals that contain the population mean than 75% confidence intervals that contain the population mean. Given a sample, a higher confidence level results in a wider interval. That is also true. The center of the 75% confidence interval for sample 1 is 79.8 because the center of a confidence interval for the population mean must be the sample mean. So let's just go up and look. It's 79.8. And that is also true. It is surprising that some 75% confidence intervals are different from other 75% confidence intervals. They should all be the same as long as the samples are random samples from the same population. That is false. So the only ones that are true are these 3 right here. So let's go ahead and check our answer. And we are correct. Hopefully this little video helps support you in your understanding of how these ALEKS questions work.